Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the Audio Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Itzulia Basque country for the next round of the Stage Race Championship. It's also a great opportunity now to pick up your wall chart. I've been filling out mine. We've gone 3 races in now. This is the 4th one, so you're going to want to be getting them soon because we've got the Grand Tours coming up, so you may as well get them now. I'll leave a link to the wall charts in the description. They go to supporting this channel, and also 10% of the profits are given directly back to VELOGAMES, so it's a win-win situation. Anyway, let's talk about Itzulia Basque country. We'll take a look at the stage profiles first and foremost. We start with a time trial. I have tried to find a map for this to see how technical it is. Can't find one, but anyway, it's 17 kilometers long. It's a little bit rolly, but generally a pretty flat, pretty standard, absolute time trial specialists time trial. Stage 2 is pretty much the only one designed for any sort of sprint, I would say, this week. So you don't see a lot of sprinters in the race this time round, but so they'll only really get this one opportunity. Stage 3, over 3,000 meters of climbing here. This is pretty much just looks like a Thibaut Nys stage, hey, given the Miguel Indurain, like the classic today. This is part of the reason why I've done the video today, is I wanted to see what those results were, but this looks like a bit of a Thibaut Nys sort of climb, this. But it's going to be really tough, and it'll bring GC riders and punchers together in a finale here. I would say it's likely to be either like somebody goes solo, or there's going to be maybe like a small group sprinting it out here. Stage 4, a little bit calmer, a little bit less vertical meters, but we have the Itzulia climb, which goes up to like 20%, 3.5 kilometers at 9.6%. So this is a big GC day. Descent off the other side, you could well see somebody go solo here, if they're a good enough descender, that is. Stage 5, kind of similar, but the climbs aren't as hard. We've got this Zalubante, which is 5 kilometers at 6.4%. It's a little bit steeper at the start, averaging 10% for the first 2Ks. A little bit of a bump here at the end, just to provide another launch pad. So it's going to be a really unpredictable race. That's really the motto going on here. And then stage 6, from I-bar to I-bar, we have the Itzulia climb here again. Slightly less steep climbs towards the end here, but there's lots of opportunities here for attacking. There's lots of opportunities for GC riders to do well. And that's mainly the name of the game here, I think, is going to be picking pretty much GC riders and punchers as best you can. The GC riders are also pretty safe options by and large, just because they'll be competing in most of the stages, especially those which can time trial. Speaking of which, we've got Joao Almeida. He's the most expensive rider. He is apparently leading this team in this race, but I would honestly say that Almeida isn't a very good choice for this race. I don't think the parkour suits him. I think he's even admitted that in their press release. There's no uphill finishes. They're all descents. They're all punchy. They're all steep. They're just not suited for Joao Almeida. So I would personally say to stay away from Almeida for this race. I think he will do very good in the opening TT. He should probably top 3 that. But outside of that, I'm just not overly confident about Almeida. I think you'll be getting better riders who are cheaper in this race. So I'd probably stay away from him personally. But if you want to, he'll probably get a top 10. But I just think that's not particularly worth it. Mas will suffer in the time trial, but could do very well everywhere else. I don't think a lot of people will pick him. Mas generally isn't that highly selected in VELOGAMES. But he was 3rd in the Volta Catalunya, so he's clearly in good form. And outside of that TT, I think a lot of the stages do suit him. So you could very well decide to go with him. But I think that the thing which draws away from him is his time trial, which is something which McNulty and Skelmers Jensen, at the same price, they do have a better time trial. So they certainly have that draw to them. But I would say of the 3, Mas is sort of the safest GC option, then Skelmers Jensen, then McNulty. McNulty just hasn't been that great this year for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. Kind of similar to Almeida, he'll do very good in the opening time trial. I think he could certainly win that, based upon like the Vuelta TT from last year, the first one. But this is a race where when you're putting 20 credits into somebody, they need to be doing well in GC. So I would go with Mas or Skelmers Jensen. Of course, last time we saw Skelmers was well, he hit the deck in Paris-Nice. I don't know how he's going after that, so if anybody's got any information, that would be very useful. So, in theory, Mass might actually be the safest one here. Not the most exciting, but Mass is just one of those who quietly racks up some points. So, that's my take on that. Bilbao, we haven't seen for a little bit. Honestly, he wasn't that great in Tirreno Adriatico. Maybe it was just the weather, but I might go with Boitrago instead, but very similarly, we haven't seen him in a while. He crashed out of Paris-Nice as well, kind of similar to Scamus Jensen. So both of these, they don't have a very good time trial, and just based upon the fact we haven't seen them in a little bit, I'm a little bit apprehensive to pick them. But if you're wanting a big differential pick, then probably go for one of these two, because these are guys who, Bilbao, he comes from a Basque country, and Boitrago is very good on steep terrain, so they suit the bill, so to say. It's just that I'm not sure what their form's like. You got Lipovitz here as well, and Van Hils at 16 credits. I would say Lipovitz, again, quite frankly, Red Bull Bojanska are a confusing team in this race, full stop, because they don't seem to have any domestiques. Lipovitz was very good in Paris-Nice. I'm not sure how he goes over the steeper terrain. He's got a decent time trial. I think he'll finish inside the top 10, but at 16 credits, I still think you could get a Lipovitz quality rider, but a little bit cheaper. But I do think that Lipovitz is safe. I think Van Hils, he'll lose time in the time trial, and it just depends whether he goes for GC or not. If he goes for GC, he'll be worth it. If he's just going for stages, then I don't think he will be. So I just find Van Hils' role in this race to be quite confusing, because they've also got Finn Fisher-Black and Roger Adler here, and I just don't know who they're going to be going for. If you pick the right person, you are going to be laughing. But there's, Lipovitz, Van Hils, Finn Fisher-Black, Adler, just like that's four of them. Danny Martinez is in here as well, and Vlasov. I just don't know who they're going for. So I think at 16 credits it's a little bit risky going for Van Hils, considering that he's never really done that well in GC before. So I might stay away from him, just out of that, just because I don't think he's going to do a good GC job. Del Toro, apparently just working for Almeida in this race. He did also crash today in the Classica Miguel Indurain, so I don't know how he's going, but in theory he's a good time trialist. And you know what? If a race isn't suited to Almeida and McNulty's not looking that great, Del Toro won Milano Torino not too long ago. He's clearly in good form. He did, like I said, he crashed today, so take that with a pinch of salt. But Del Toro could be a bit of an undervalued gem here at 14 credits if he gets to be the leader of UE. But again, it's a little bit of a risk because on paper, Almeida is the leader. Van Wilder, he's the leader here for Soudal Quickstep. He's a good climber. He's a good time trialist. He should be inside the top 10. Vlasov, I would probably not pick Vlasov. I think they would probably go for Leap. I don't know, man. Honestly, Red Bull Bojanska is so confusing. I wish they'd just pick a bit of a less good team so it makes it a bit easier for me. Vlasov or Lipovitz, in theory, are the best GC riders for them. Maybe Finn Fisher-Black can do something as well. Van Hils and Adler are, in theory, just going for stages, I presume. Vlasov, again, a big differential if you want it, but I probably won't be picking him. But, don't be surprised if he comes top 10. 12 credit riders, and we've got so much value for money in this mid kind of 12 to 8 credit bracket. It's ridiculous. Oran Baruas looks so strong today in the Mid Classica Miguel Indurain. 5th place there, descending really well. He's from this region. He's fast. He could probably win that stage 2, but that's probably not going to be enough for him to be worth it. He needs to do more than that, and I'm not sure how well he's climbing, if he's going to be able to compete for the other stages, so it's a little bit risky. Gregoire, I do like. He can do a decent time trial, and I swear the last we saw of him was he was trying to follow Pogacar, Van der Poel and Ganna up the Cipressa, and that was a ballsy move, and I quite like Gregoire. He's a good puncher, and I think that he could definitely be a top 10 candidate here. Hershey also, he was 6th place today, and I think that Hershey was looking pretty strong. He lacks the TT. Sometimes doesn't do that great in GC, but this sort of terrain does suit him, so I wouldn't be writing off Hershey, that's for sure. Martinez, based upon today, I think he will be one of the domestiques for Red Bull Bora-Hansgrohe, so I'd stay away from him. Schachmann, he should do very good in the TT, probably a top 5, and then might finish top 15 GC based upon his Paris-Nice performance, where he was alright. And then the other 12s, you got Zingler, who, kind of similar to Arambaru, I think is quite limited in the number of stages he can compete for, probably only the second stage. Whereas Tullet, I really like. I really like Tullet for this race. He won the Coppa I Bartoli. He won a stage there. He's looking just super rejuvenated, like he's kind of back to his, like a couple of years ago self, where he was in super good form. And I like Tullet for this race. He can do a decent TT as well. He shouldn't lose that much time. So I really like Tullet for this race. Adlia, I would recommend. I was honestly thinking of putting him on for this race all of like a couple of weeks ago. But then now they've got every other leader for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe on this team. So I don't know where he's going to get his opportunities. Baudin was alright today. Alaphilippe I probably won't pick. I think he'll be working for Hershey. Champussin, very good. He was amazing in Paris-Nice. He was top 10 in GC. And I think he could do something very similar here. Even if he does lose loads of time in the time trial, it doesn't really matter. I think Champussin's really good because he needs UCI points, quite frankly. And Finn Fisher-Black I like as well. He could do a very good time trial. He's punchy. He can climb well. He fulfills a lot of criteria for somebody who should be doing very well in this race. Groschark will be a domestique. Jonas Agir crashed today. Healy I do quite like. He's again a bit risky, where he could do a decent time trial, yes, but then he always is a little bit hot and cold on stage races. He's a very good one-day racer, but in stage races he always seems to fall a little bit short. I'm not quite sure why, but at 10 credits, Ben Healy could very be worthwhile putting, risking it on, because this sort of steep terrain, lots of repeated climbs, it really, fortune favours the brave, and Healy is just somebody who just attacks continuously. So I really like Healy for this race. Maybe I'll put him on my team. He isn't on there at the moment, but I really like him. Thibaut Nace, obviously the main man himself. I think a lot of people will be picking him. He won today convincingly. He should be competing for a few stages, I think. It depends how him and Skelmos Jensen balance in the Lidl Trek squad. But Thibaut Nace is a man in form, and it'd be a brave soul to go without Thibaut Nace into this race, I think. Oscar Onley, at 10 credits, I think is an absolute steal as well. Yes, his time trial's not that great, but outside of that, he's a fantastic pick for this race. So Onley I really like too. And the 8 credit riders, Bajoli possibly. He was third today. Ballet, very good one-day racer early in the year. Whether he's continued that here, I think he could be, in really good form. I think Ballet could be a top 20 in GC. Balanexia should be sprinting for Movistar on that second stage. Brenner, I think, will be a domestique, but maybe he could finish inside the top 15 on a really good performance. Castillo, I think he'll just be working for Mass, but he has been very good this year. Very consistent as a GC rider, but I do think he'll be working for Mass, so I'm less likely to pick him this time round. De Pretto I like. He might be sprinting for Jayco. Eddie Dunbar, he crashed out of the Tirreno Adriatico, but he did start that race with a 13th place in the time trial, which is very good. So if that's anything to go by, Eddie Dunbar could be a little bit of a hidden gem in this race. But yeah, the results this year just haven't been going his way. That's evident. Antonio Fagundes, the Uruguayan. Yeah, he is from Uruguay. He's been very good this year, popping up in all sorts of races. I don't think he'll do that great in GC, but I think he'll be in the top 10 a couple of times. Hayter, dare I say. Dare we dabble with Ethan Hayter again? We all know what happens when you pick him. You end up in tears. Hayter, though, with a TT and that second stage being a sprint, maybe he could do something, but I'm probably not going to be picking him for my own sanity. Quentin Hermans, yeah, kind of similar to Thibaut Nace. I suppose he could compete over quite a few stages. Lefebvre we haven't seen do well since Classic VAR, where he was third, so I'm probably not going to pick him. Laurence, very similar to Quentin Hermans, should be competing in a couple of stages. Romo, obviously the absolute outstanding performance from the Santos Tour Down Under, where he was third place in GC, I want to say. It feels like a little bit ago. Romo, I think he might be working for Mass, kind of similar to Castillo, but maybe he could be inside the top 10 in his own performance just by doing that. Schmid, I'm also a big fan of for this race. He can time trial. We saw that in the Vuelta last year. He climbs really well. He looked in good form today. So I think that Schmid is a really good choice for this race. He had a fantastic run in this race. I think it was 2 years ago in 2023. Tejada I like. A little bit off the boil since Paris-Nice. Didn't do that great into Milano Torino or today in Miguel Lane, but Tejada I quite like. Astana want multiple people inside the top 10. I think Tejada can do that. More of a puncher than a climber, so I'm a big fan of Tejada for this race. The 6 credit riders, Bizio, he was just 5th place in Paris Camembert. I think he was working for Paul César though. Bizio was 4th in GC in the Tour de l'Avenir last year. And so obviously he's a very good climber. And I think that it might be worthwhile taking a punt on Bizio. Why not? As I think in the 6 credit bracket, it's generally better to go for GC riders. So Bizio is one of those. Baratti, I think, will sprint for Bahrain Victorious on stage 2. Campanarts for the opening stage time trial. And then a couple of stages of GC points might honestly be a decent idea just for a safe 100 to 150 points. Garofoli, given that Soudal Quickstep don't have a big lead, well, they got Schachmann and Van Wilder. Scrap what I said. I quite like Garofoli. I think that he's a talent in the waiting, but I think he'll just be a domestique this time round. Sorry to say. Gloag, what was he, 6th or 7th in the Tour Down Under? But again, that was a few months ago. He hasn't been in as good form. I think they'll just be working for Tullet, but I think that I'm mentioning him nonetheless, just to cover all bases. Thibaut Gruel, he'll be sprinting for Groupama. Remember, he finished 8th twice in the Tour de la Provence on stages 1 and 2, I think it was. So Gruel, I really like. I think he'll do good in that 2nd stage. Caggiamini was top 30 in GC in Tirreno. Maybe he could repeat the same or go a little bit better. Labros, very good over gravel. What was he? 16th in Strade, 6th in Classica Cayenne, 5th or 6th. Obviously, there's no gravel here, but maybe he could do something. Langolotti, I think Ineos might go with Langolotti as their leader. Maybe he could be a top 20. Paul McKell's 10th today, bit of a puncher, climber, style rider, so he could be up there in a couple of stages, maybe the 2nd stage and maybe the third or 4th stage, possibly. Oliveira just for that time trial. Roland I really like. Again, another youngster who's up and coming. He's going to burst on the scene one of these times. Archie Ryan was 11th today. Given that, there's also Ben Healy here, but Archie Ryan for 6 credits, I think he should be top 15 or top 20 GC. I think that's really safe. Guillermo Thomas Silva was 4th. No, 3rd? 3rd or 4th today, something like that. He's in fantastic form. I think that he could be a couple of top 10s. I think he might get in the breakaways, so I like him as well. Tlanchon, we haven't seen too much of again since the Tour Down Under, where he was in the top 10 in GC there. So I'd like to see something a bit more from him, but Decathlon have so many riders to go with. Vergolito was 22nd in GC in Paris-Nice. Maybe he could go a little bit better here. Vestlenia, very good rider for the future. He's a Belgian, tall puncher, but maybe not for this race. But he's a really exciting prospect. If he was 4 credits, I'd probably put him on. Speaking of which, for 4 credit riders, there's not that many to be going at, to be honest with you, unless, I'm missing some sort of time trialist, Andrew August, maybe. Ineos don't have a big leader. Maybe he could do something. Bayer might get involved in some sprints. Beloki, the next Spanish wonder kid. Rasmus de Bruyne was 10th on Vidjabel Hafit, so maybe he can regain some of that form and do it here as well. You got a load of riders for breakaways. Kuipers, I swear he does cyclocross. What's he doing here? Matisse Lebert, kind of a fast sprinter. Well, kind of a faster man, so maybe he gets involved in the sprint. David Martin was 10th in a sprint in the Vuelta Andalucia, if I remember correctly. Or the Ruta del Sol, it was one of the other. So maybe him might get involved in that one sprint. Schelling has won a stage of this race a couple of years ago. So maybe he gets involved in the sprints. Scottson I do like as well. Although he hasn't shown it this year, he was 13th in GC in Paris-Nice. I know, the Criterium du Dauphiné last year. So he's a good climber. but he just really hasn't shown it this year. So the 4 credit riders honestly aren't that great. I'd be trying to stay away from them as best I can. This is my team at the moment. Skelmos Jensen, Champoussin, Tullet, Schmid, Finfisher Black, Gregoire Onley, Thibaut Nason, Harold Tejada. It's super strong. I mean, I love it. I love how I've got such strength and depth. There's no 4 credit riders. There's no kind of people who I'm just hoping are going to get any points. I think they're all really good. I just think this is going to be a race where it's going to be super fine margins. It's going to be some, average. Yeah, there's so much value in this mid zone of like 14 credits down to 8 credits, where you really can't put them all on, and you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere. Like, I would love to have Ben Healy on here, but I just don't know where I'd put him on instead. Like, I'd have to take off a rider who I also think is really good. So it's tricky to say. I mean, I could always sacrifice Skelmos Jensen, I suppose, if I wasn't too confident in him. Or I might honestly go with Enric Mas, just because I'm quite confident that he might finish inside the podium of this race, based upon Catalonia. So this is where I'm sort of at. Lots of strength and depth. I don't know what the hell's going on with Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, but I've got Finn Fisher Black in here. I don't have Del Toro, so I'm just playing it safe. I'm going with, just the leaders really of teams. It's just going to be such a hard one to win, because there's going to be some perfect combination of 12, 10 and 8 credit riders that you need. And you can't fit them all on. You're just going to end up inevitably missing one of them. But hey ho, it is what it is. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment sections down below. Who are you thinking of putting on your teams? Is there anybody who I've missed, or any riders which you want me to talk about? I'll try and respond to all the comments as best I can. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut!